Hello, gays, and welcome back to Good Day Gay. Hello, gay millennials. I'm your host, Russell Ray, along with my co-host, Paulie B. What's up, Paulie B? How's your week going, man?
Week's been good. Week's been good. I feel like it's just flown by. So I don't know.
Good.
That's how I'm going to summarize it. Week's been good. Flown by. Weather's a bit crap, but it's been good.
So you're entering the summer season, right?
We're halfway through spring. So
You're
our
halfway through.
summer, our summer officially starts in December. So we're in the last month of spring, which is good because I'm so over hay fever. Cough is finally on its way out. You're probably going to hear a few more coughs today, but it's on its way out. It's
Hey,
on the
to
way.
be fair, my eyes are so red today because I had the front windows open here. So
Yeah.
for those of you who are just joining us who might be new to the podcast, Paul is down in Adelaide, Australia. I'm in Long Beach, California, and the seasons are all messed up. It was so windy the other day. I have 3 dents on my car because palms fell on my car. So now I have 3 brand new dents. My eyes are red because I had the windows open. I just wanted a little bit of fresh air. So it's kind of like hay fever like you have. So we're kind of in the same boat. But
We
anyway,
still look good though.
maybe
We
our
still look
daddies will fix that. So today we are talking about daddy issues. We're going to talk about why it's popular in the gay culture, why it's a stigma, why are people attracted to daddy issues, and do we really have daddy issues as gays? Let's get started with, first of all, what are daddy issues? Paul, would you like to give your explanation? I'll give my explanation. And we'll just start with that because I feel like I was having a conversation with one of my best friends, Humby, today, and he was telling me that, well, we were both talking, we're like, what are really daddy issues? Everyone, it's so popular to say, almost like when you're out in public and someone says, you're such an amateur, meaning like you're new at this, but in reality, amateur just means you're not getting paid. So you want to go with your definition first, or do you want me to go with my definition?
Look, to be honest, I didn't actually write a definition, so I'm going to be honest. But I did do a poll on my Instagram. Let me just
Okay.
get the results up. So I asked on my Instagram, "Are you into older men?" I didn't write the question, "Do you have daddy issues?" I more so wrote, "Are you into older men?" So oh my gosh, quick maths. 124 plus 22 is 146. So 146 people voted. 124 people said yes, they were into older men, and 22 people said no, they weren't. So when I looked through the list of the people that said yes and no, a lot of the yeses were my gay following. A lot of no's were people that I know are into younger guys, people that are older as well. So they too don't like older men, I guess, because they're older, and
Uh-huh.
also women. But
I was
I
gonna
do
say, I'm
say one
curious to
thing.
know,
Yeah.
whoever voted no on your poll, how old were they, or roughly the age range of them? Were they on the younger spectrum? Because I feel
I'd
like I almost wasn't ready for an age gap until I got to at least my mid-20s.
yeah, so definitely on the no side was like late 20s, like in the upper range of the late 20s to
I
early
see.
30s, to
Okay.
like also older guys like in their 40s, as well as literally straight women who aren't into older men. But
That's
I,
fair. That's fair though. Being in your 40s, you do not want to date somebody that's 70. So I mean some
yeah,
people do, but that's fair.
but can I just say, so I have started watching Desperate Housewives again this week. So I've started putting it on, and Jesse Metcalf, the gardener.
Oh, yes. Jesse Metcalf is so handsome.
So it's his birthday at the beginning of December. He's what, a Sagittarius?
Yes.
Sagittarius? Ooh, I hope I got that
Sagittarius.
right. Do you know how old he's turning at the beginning of December?
How old is he turning?
He's turning 46. He's a daddy.
Oh, I mean, yes, but we're not that far off.
Oh, true. Yeah. But if people
I
say like,
mean, that's gay death. We just had this conversation last week, Paul. Gay
but I
death
guess
is when you enter your 40s.
if people say that they're not into older men, but they still say that Jesse Metcalf, who's turning 46, is hot, you're into older men, right?
Yes. Let me just give you the definition of
Give me your
daddy
definition.
of a daddy of the age gap of a daddy relationship. So a significant age gap when it comes to daddy issues in gay relationships is usually between 10 to 20 years or more. It's not necessarily about the specific age difference alone, but more about the dynamics that might be at
Mm.
play. When someone with daddy issues pursues older partners, it may stem from psychological needs or preferences like seeking emotional support, stability, guidance, or validation from a more mature figure.
Mm.
So, which I feel is right up the alley. I thought myself before, because I told you, me and Humpy were having this conversation earlier. We were like, everyone always says what daddy issues are, but what is the actual definition of daddy issues and what is the age gap? So, I assumed it was over 10 years. Um,
That
so
sounds
when I
about
seen
right.
that, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
Um, have you dated anyone significantly older than you? Is my next question.
Yes. I think I may have said this on the first episode of the podcast where we were talking about age ranges or age gaps in your 30s. Um, and I've dabbled into older men. Probably not the right word, dabbled. Um, I think I'll share like one experience that this is probably we didn't date, we were never dating, but I guess we were quite involved with each other.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes just because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to refer to this daddy as Sydney Daddy.
Okay.
So he was 12 years older than me. So the age gap
Wow.
was
12
the
years.
age
That's a good
the
one.
age gap was 12 years, yeah, which was pretty cool because I guess on the Chinese zodiac side, we were both in the monkey year as well because we're 12 years apart, so we're both monkeys. Um,
Okay.
Okay, so I met Sydney Daddy in 2018 here in Adelaide. He was visiting for work. We went on the grind, and he wanted to take me out for a date here in Adelaide, which he did, and we kept in contact ever since. Um, that year was also my first Mardi Gras in Sydney. So Sydney
I
Daddy
love Mardi Gras.
was my first Mardi Gras in 2018. So, when I was finished hanging out with my friends and I needed a lift to the airport, I messaged Sydney Daddy and I was like, hey, I'm heading to the airport. Do you want to hang out? And so we hung out, we went out for a coffee, and he took me to the airport. While we were driving to the airport, he then said, hey, I'm actually going to be in Melbourne for work in a few weeks. Would
Mhm.
you want to meet me in Melbourne? And I said, I was probably 26 or 27 at the time. And I was like, look, I can't just up and go to Melbourne out of nowhere. I can't afford it. I've got work. And he was like, you don't have to afford it. I'll pay for your tickets. You can stay in my hotel room. All you have to do is take one day off of work. And so I talked with a friend at work about it, and she was like, do it. Why not? Like, he's paying for your flights and you get free accommodation. You literally just have to take a day off of work. So
Wait,
I
how
took a day
far?
off.
So just so I know for context, how far is Adelaide from Melbourne? Because if you need one day off, I would assume it's significantly close, like
Yeah,
Long
it's
Beach
very
to
close.
Vegas. It's like a 45-minute flight.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're literally up in the air, you like sit there for 30 minutes, and then you're already descending down into Melbourne. So it's
Okay,
like a
so it's basically
45.
the distance for everybody in America from Los Angeles to Vegas.
Yeah, super
Got it.
close.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so I would go to Melbourne. He would say, look, I have to work during these hours, so occupy yourself. And I would just catch up with my friends. And then after work, we would go out for dinner, we would hang out. And yeah, that pretty much continued for the next few times that he went to Melbourne. So
Mhm.
every time he went to Melbourne for work, he would book me a flight to go to Melbourne to meet him there. So, I
That's
would
a
always
daddy.
message. Exactly. So yeah, so that was pretty much the relationship that, he would book me a flight to go to Melbourne. He would also continue to come to Adelaide for work. So he would take me out for dinner while we were here in Adelaide. Um, yeah, we definitely did develop feelings for each other. Um,
Okay.
yeah, we definitely developed feelings for each other. And I think I actually don't really know why it never really worked out. Like at the end of, I won't go into too much details, but he did lie to me about something, and when you lie to me
Oh,
about something, you're done in my eyes. So yeah, but before that even happened, we ended because I ended up meeting my boyfriend. So when I met my boyfriend, I then pretty much, which wasn't a good idea, I pretty much cut off every guy that I had ever spoken to ever, which was not healthy. But yeah, but so Sydney Daddy also actually booked me flights to Cairns to see the Great Barrier Reef because he was going there for work, and to New Zealand as well. But I
oh
wasn't
my
able to make
gosh.
those. Yeah, I wasn't able to make those flights because a family emergency came up, and so
Mm.
yeah, so I could have gone there in my daddy relationship, but I didn't.
Okay, I
But
just need to
yeah,
pause you for a second because
go for it.
you've had these things happen. My friend Humby, guys flock to him and treat him the same way. So I'm curious to know what is it about me where people won't buy me all these things when I just meet them? I really got to put the effort out there. I really, really, really got to put the effort out there. But I haven't had anybody offer to buy me flights right off the bat. I have dated a daddy. Um, But damn, the Great Barrier Reef, like you're just that would be like me dating. So the equivalent of the Great Barrier Reef, I guess, would be like someone booking me a flight because I look, the flight from Sydney to Cairns is like 4 hours. And so
Yeah.
that's about the same from Los Angeles to Hawaii. So that would be equivalent of
Yes.
someone booking me a flight to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And that's never happened. I
Look,
had to take
and
myself to Hawaii the first time.
and all I'm gonna say is, and maybe your friend can concur to this, but when you're good, you're good.
I'm sorry. No, I'm great. So let's talk about that. Okay. Don't be throwing that insignificant shade. And so Paul has been removed from the podcast now going forward, and it is just me. Thank you so much for joining us today because I'll tell you what we're not going to do is it has already been a week here in the United States. Okay. And we are not going to throw me under the bus.
The library is
Lord.
open. The library is open.
You know what? Apparently, we're not the only ones that have daddy issues. The gays are not the only ones that have daddy issues. There is this video that is going viral as I take a break before I tell you about my story. It's
Yeah.
going viral. It's happened 7 years ago. And it happened in a church. Just take a listen to this. For those of you who are listening versus those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can see the video because I'm about to play it. I just have to find the right layout. Here we go. And I I just want you to listen to what this pastor says, which I was shook when I heard it. Here we go. Um,
Daddy, please fill me. That's you. I want you to pray. Let's pray it out loud. Let's not be scared. Let's pray it out loud. Daddy, please fill me. Don't let me miss you. I want you. We don't want you.
okay, so
Oh gosh.
I was not pleasantly, but I was a little confused when I heard that because what in someone's right mind would make a pastor make a crowd of evangelists say, "Daddy, please fill me." So I was
Look, okay.
I was reading through the comments. Well, first of all, did that come through
Yeah, yeah,
correctly
yeah.
on your side? You could hear it.
No, I could hear it, but I feel like we should share it as well in our Instagram as well, like just for people to watch later.
I want to get people's takes on this. So if you're listening to this live, if you're watching us on YouTube, please, especially if you're religious, which I would really honestly like, we appreciate all of our followers,
Okay, that's where I was going to
regardless
chime in. Yeah.
of your background. But um, I was reading the comments, and apparently the word daddy has been made perverse, and so in the church it was a normal regular day to say, daddy, please fill me, like, and I think they were referring to fill me up with your
Spirit,
spirit,
soul.
everything.
Yeah.
You're all the above. But you just can't run around saying that.
And that's where I'm going to say, so, okay, I grew up Catholic and I did
Same.
go, I did attend like youth sermons and youth sermons like that. But
Amen.
Amen. But nowhere, anytime, never did we ever say daddy. Like,
We never said daddy.
we never said daddy. We would say God. We would say father. Like,
Father.
but not daddy. We would never say daddy, fill me up. Like, I don't know where that is in the world, where that is in the US.
You know what?
But
we
no.
have very weird things. We sometimes we do things weirdly over here in the United States. Okay, but what I was raised Catholic as well. As the prayer goes, our Father who art in heaven, not our daddy who art in heaven. Okay, hallowed be thy name. Okay, so yeah, no, we're not. I don't know. That one caught me off guard, and the fact that it's going viral again on TikTok 7 years later. This poor pastor, I hope he is at peace with this because it is going to start making its rounds all over again. Not only is it on TikTok, but it's made its way to Instagram. So
yes,
I will clip this as a short clip and I will put it on our story. I'll put it on our Instagram so that everybody can see it. But that one, I thought it was ironic that we were going to be talking about daddy issues this week. And out of all things that were to pop up on my algorithm, it was that. So if my smartphone is listening and if Apple is listening, I want to talk about next week about how I won the lottery and how I have the numbers to bid for it. So, and I want to talk about how I'm moving into my new penthouse in downtown Long Beach that overlooks the water. And
I'm moving to New York.
Generate waves now in Long Beach instead of it being flat water.
But so before that, exactly. Before
ahead.
that, you got to tell us about your daddy issues.
Okay, so I was Marsha said, hey y'all, she's in the chat. She just joined us on YouTube. She was laughing at something you and I said about let me see, about 5 minutes ago. I don't know exactly what we said, but but Marsha said, please, we love our Central Park facing penthouse. Yes, because if the algorithm is listening, I want to talk about how I won the lottery next week or sometime this month before Christmas. So
exactly, and
I
we're
just
moving
need the
to
numbers to pop up on my phone. Thank you.
We're moving
Jesus,
to
let
New
the
York.
Lord say, amen. Daddy, please fill me. So I met my daddy when I was 24. I was working at a bar in Palm Springs. It was 4th of July weekend, and it kind of happened by mistake, right? So
how old was he first? So you were 24. How old was he?
He just turned 40.
Okay.
But he looked really young. So it was a 16-year gap between us. And so I was getting tips, and there was one guy, he was about 6'2", 6'3", and he worked for Sony Music, and he was really weird. Not to say that people that work for Sony Music are weird, but he was just weird. And that was the first thing he told me. He's like, I work for Sony Music. And I'm like, okay. So he kept following me around and I just felt uneasy. And so there was this guy, handsome, and he was standing within the vicinity and he kept making eye contact with me. So I'm like, I'm going to walk over there with him and see if this guy follows me. So I walked towards that guy, and the 6'2" guy followed me, and he's like, I just have to say you're my type. And I'm like, oh, I really appreciate that, but I'm like right here with my boyfriend, and like, I was like, so I'm sorry, but I'm taken. I really can't be flirting with people like that. Like, I just work here, this is just my job. And he played into it, and he was like, yeah, how's it going, man? What's your name? And he stuck out his hand to shake his hand, and he was like, oh, I didn't realize you were in a relationship. He's like, yeah, we've been together for a minute, but I just let him do his thing here at the bar because this is his job. So I try not to interrupt, but it seems like you're a little close for comfort. So you might want to back up. And I was like, oh, I'm so attracted to this, right? Like, please protect me, daddy. So we go. So basically, I start texting one of my best friends at the time, and I'm like, hey, I met this guy. He, I kind of used him as like a cover to protect me because this guy was following me around the bar, and I just, whatever. And so she's like, "Oh my God, send me pictures." So I sent her pictures. She's like, "Oh my God, he's so handsome." Right. So we're like, okay. Meanwhile, I didn't know he was 40 at the time. I thought he was
Mm,
like in his mid-30s because
mm,
he looks really young. He has great skin.
mm.
His family has great skin as well. So he asked me on a date and I said yes, but our first date was not the conventional date. I jumped in a car, drove with him 3 hours into the desert, into their family vacation home on the water, like on the river. But like at any one of these times, this guy could have been a weirdo and could have like chopped my head off and thrown me into the desert. And so I highly suggest not driving 3 hours with someone in their car for your first date. So we go, everything's great, everything's fine. And then it ended up into a 4-year relationship.
Wow. Okay.
And it ended up just not working out. Like
Mm.
faithfulness or like loyalty was like, an issue that we were having, and infidelity was also an issue that we were having. But the what attracted me to that entire situation was he seemed to be well established. He held himself very well. He was well spoken. Um and he seemed to have his life together. Catch the seemed. He seemed to have his life together.
Seemed.
Um and he seemed to be very mature. Catch the seemed again.
Seemed.
And obviously, as the relationship continued and unfolded, it turned out that those were not the things. Not to talk, bad on him. However, it just wasn't. It was more about him than it was about us, and I feel like that's an issue when it comes to relationships that have significant age gaps. And in the gay
Yeah.
community, it's very much a power dynamic, and so I found myself always questioning where my boundaries were and what was enough. Of course, I received gifts from this individual. Being in the relationship, there was a lot of times I did not have to pull out my card or cash.
Mm.
And, but with all that being said, I was initially attracted because of the maturity that was being presented at the time. So I feel like
Yes.
that's a commonality in the gay community here in the
Yes.
States. Is that the same way out there?
No, and so it's good that you brought that up because I asked one of my friends, he was chiming in on the conversation that I was having on my
Mhm.
socials, and I asked him straight up, like, why do you think gays have daddy issues? Um, and he said exactly that. He said, I think that it's a primal evolutional instinct where you see someone that's achieved things in life and, you're attracted to that. And
Yes.
so yeah, so you're attracted to that because, it's almost survival of the fittest. Like, I'm gonna bunk up with that guy because he has it all. But the other thing I wanted to say as well, so I want to chime back to what you said about, the seams. Like, he appeared to have it all. He appeared
Yes.
to be all put together because
Appeared.
that was the other thing that my following on social media also said to me, which was, you know, people are attracted to daddies, but you've got to question at some point, why are those guys still single at that age? And I know from my personal experience, I could probably say, because I do find older men attractive and I do find myself, hanging out with older guys every now and then. And I'd say probably there were 3 instances where those guys actually presented as, once I saw past all of the shiny things, once I saw past all of their achievements, and once I saw past, that ripped, muscly, hairy daddy chest, I then could see the insecurities, and I could then see that I know why you're single at this age, because you are holding a lot of insecurities that you've probably held for a lot of years, and you probably haven't really invested into fixing or wanting to do better. So
I thought the same thing because once you're with someone for a long enough period of time, you start to unravel the story, right? They say you don't know
Yes.
someone until you live behind closed doors with them. And so I was figuring out, okay, why have you been in multiple relationships? You've been engaged more than, you know, a couple times. And so here we are at this point. And then it all started to make sense. It was
Yes.
the facade, it was the fantasy that I was young, I was hot, I had a nice body, and it
Mm.
was I can almost control this person. And there was a second where I was being controlled, and then I figured that out, and we started to lean into our independence. And then I started to be a little bit rebellious. And then that's when the dynamics of the relationship started to change. And we started
Mm.
butting heads a lot
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was not being submissive. And I wasn't going to be submissive because I'm nobody's B word.
And, you know, when you asked
People
me,
like that.
exactly, like I didn't write a definition of daddy issues, but I wrote characteristics of gay culture and daddy issues. And one of those characteristics was subs and doms. Like,
Yes.
I think, you know, daddies hold that dom position. And I guess when you take that power away from them, then they don't like it.
100%. Because then they get an attitude, right?
Mm.
Because they can't tell you what to do. They can't tell you how to be. They can't tell you how to dress. And a lot of times you also see this in relationships like that are on reality television, right?
Mm.
It's like I dated older to be secure. However, I still have to move around and play the part that this person wants me to play in order to maintain my lavish lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to me, I'm gonna be rich regardless. So I don't need you to provide anything for me because the algorithm is gonna give me the lottery numbers that I need to win to have my penthouse. Okay.
Look.
Facebook is listening. So we are going to win the lottery, and I'm going to this podcast is going to blow up, and you're going to be like, wow, he really did win the lottery. Yes, because I'm Aquarius and we get everything that we want. But first of all, we really we're gonna take this offline for a minute because there is a lot of shade coming my way from you today, Paul. You know what? There is not an ocean far enough that can split. I will get in a blink of an eye. Okay. We will
I don't know.
We will lip sync for our life. Okay?
I don't know why. I'm just in a bad bitch mood at the moment. Bad B
You're on
mood.
bad bitch mood. Because you are a bad bitch.
Yes.
I want to lean into what you were talking about, the power imbalance.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about stereotypes from heterosexual couples or individuals that look at, because about 40%, I was doing some research, about 40% of gay relationships have an age gap of 10 years or more. So that's almost half, right? So
yeah.
why do you think we're judged for that? And why are women not judged for that as much as we are judged for that as the LGBTQIA2 plus community?
Yeah. Sorry, before we get into that, I guess, you know, when you talked about the age gap, I did get a viewer story. One of my
viewer story.
Yeah, one of my friends is actually in a relationship with an older man.
Okay.
And when I knew that we were going to talk about daddy issues, I knew that I had to ask him a few questions.
Okay.
So I asked him a few questions, and this is what I got. So him and his partner are 24 years in age difference. So they're 24 years apart, but he actually met his partner when he was 24. I asked him as well, you know, what's the biggest age gap that you've ever experienced? So the biggest age gap that he ever experienced was a 43-year age gap. So at the time he was 20 years old and the guy was 63. Your face has, for the people that were watching online, but also your internet froze literally in that moment when your jaw dropped. You're like, 23.
My mouth was wide open. I was catching flies over here
43.
because that one caught me by surprise. That's
so
a big
40
gap.
Exactly, 43 age different. I asked him as well, you know, what's the minimum age difference that you would go for these days? and he said that, you know, they have to be 40 plus minimum. As long as they have a beard and some white hair, then he's happy. I also asked him about, you know, the benefits of dating an older guy, and he said that a big benefit is because they are a bit older, they are more open-minded, and they won't judge you for your, you know, for the things that you want to try, or the things that you want to give a go. I guess then I'll say one thing first, and then I'll do the challenges. So I asked him as well, straight up, do you have daddy issues? And he said that a lot of his friends thinks that he has daddy issues because he was raised by a single mother, but he doesn't have daddy issues. He genuinely just finds older men attractive.
Okay.
Yes, and I did then ask him about the challenges, which leads into the question you asked me. So I said, what is the biggest challenge of, you know, dating an older man? And he said, other than your normal challenges within a normal relationship, the biggest challenge that he faces is the judgment from other people, because, you know, other people are judging him, thinking, oh, you're only with that older guy because you're after his money, or, you know, you want a visa, like he'll be able to sponsor your visa, or that older guy's only with him because he's a predator, or yeah.
Okay.
So it definitely is a challenge. Like, judgment, there is that judgment there, which is a challenge in dating an older person.
I will say I have a few comments on that. One of them being, well, I also have a viewer I wouldn't know if I would call it a viewer story, but it's more of a viewer experience. And so I wanted to touch on that because your person is saying it's not necessarily for the financial gain or the stability in that aspect. This person, hold on, let me read you what they said.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, those are my reactions all the time. Like, oh no, oh my gosh.
Let me just read this to you. Hey, Rusty. Hey, Paul. I love the podcast. I tune in every week, and you guys are so hilarious. So thank you so much for that, because we really feed off of this, because we love giving you our gay millennial 30-year-old trauma into this podcast.
So much trauma.
So when you guys mentioned that daddy issues were going to be on next week's episode, I thought, let me give you my perspective from my side. I'm currently in a relationship with someone 25 years older than I am. However, we both understand the arrangement of our relationship. He knows that he's provided me a good life because this economy is impossible for anybody of our age. I'm assuming we're all the same age. Anybody of our age to prosper and live their dreams and live the lives that baby boomers did at this age. However, our relationship is great. We have a good time in the things that we do, and we enjoy spending time with each other. But at the end of the day, we understand that there is an arrangement. I do have a luxury car that I drive. I have a nice place that I live in. And in return, he gets to walk around with me. He also makes sure that I'm dressed nice because he likes to show me off like I'm his prized possession. However, I love the way that that feels because I'm more submissive than anything. But if he were to pass, I would be thrusted back into regular life. But there will be something left for me on his behalf. However, I just wanted to give you my perspective that sometimes security is the front runner instead of love. And so this started off initially as security, and we've learned to enjoy each other's company and actually really do enjoy spending time with each other. Yes. And so I thought that was interesting because he just owned it right off the bat.
No, and that's interesting because literally under subs and doms, I had security as a dot point to, that's why gays like older men, for security. But
look, I wouldn't say in my relationship that I liked it. I just got a text message from Humby. He said, "Bitch, call me now. I'm gagged by your podcast."
Okay, let me just touch on. So you said that he
just hit the chat as well. I want to
say, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. Okay, go ahead, continue.
So you know the viewer, he owns it, right? Like he owns it. And another one of my viewer owns it himself. He owns his daddy issues. So I straight up asked him, he responded to my story and he said, I love daddies. And I asked him straight up, I'm like, do you have daddy issues? And he said, 1000% I have daddy issues and I love it and I own it. Yeah, like he knows exactly. He knows that
you gotta appreciate who people are when they tell you who they are.
Yeah, exactly. And so he knows that his relationship with his dad wasn't exactly the best. He knows that, you know, that relationship with his dad has had an impact on his love and relationships. And, you know, if he went to therapy, would that change? Potentially. But in the meantime, he owns it. He loves it. Loves it.
And you know what? I think that's great. As long as you know what it is. Here's the thing. Here's a message that I want to spread to everybody that's listening to this is, as long as you know who you are, what you bring to the table, or what you're in this for, then I think you're good. I think it makes you more self-aware than most people on the planet, because some people just don't know what they want when it comes to relationships. So if you do have daddy issues, not daddy issues. Oh God. I'm so sorry I just said that, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Move on.
Look, once you go live, just anything can happen. And apparently that
exactly.
If you have daddy issues and you're owning it, I do have to say, like, kudos to you, because I still don't think I have daddy. Jesus, daddy, please feel me.
Okay.
I personally don't think I have daddy issues.
So while you deal with
the
those,
situation happened,
yeah,
and I was bamboozled and thinking that he was younger than what he was, and it wasn't until several months into our relationship, well, dating, I wouldn't say relationship, but dating, I seen his ID and I said, hold up, is that your birthday? That's your actual birthday? He said,
show me your license.
You have bamboozled me, because I feel like you were pitching it like you were in your mid-30s. Jamie Rogers said, if you have daddy issues, 13, 11, 14 for Lifeline support. That's in Australia. You can
I was going to say, that's an Australian number. We need the American equivalent
in California, which, I mean, it's a suicide line. So I just want to take that out to a serious note. If you are having a mental health crisis, please call your local people, or if you've been in a situation like what Diddy is allegedly being accused of, please seek help for that, seriously, because there are a lot of people in this world who are masking and hiding things. They say the happiest people on earth are usually the ones that are hiding something significantly big. So I don't want to make light of that. I do want to at least touch on it. I'm
going to bring it back now. Okay, I'm going to bring
on.
So
sorry for the slip up, y'all. That is not what I meant. Maybe it was because I was watching Aubrey O'Day today, and I was watching her
I love Aubrey O'Day
interview. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Aubrey.
Oh, she's
Aubrey
amazing.
is everything. Let me tell you,
she's sexy.
She could sing. Okay, SANG. She could sing, and she was really talking about what it was like to work under Voldemort, and how much she was getting paid and everything that came along with it. And so she was pretty much giving people advice that were going into the industry, like, find your voice, find it soon, know your worth, and don't be afraid to back down and walk away. So yes, so maybe that is why that came out.
And I'm gonna take that now and bring it back to the conversation. So at the start of the podcast, or when I told my daddy's story, you also then said, how are people out here, you know, getting flights bought for them and all of that kind of stuff? And you also then said that, I think you said that it's such a good belief to be able to know who you are so that you can bring something to the table. So yeah. I guess to answer your question as to how have I been able to get flights bought for me from a daddy before? I think that's because I literally am so confident in who I am, and I do bring that to a relationship, and I do bring that forward in every encounter that I'm in. Like, I'm 100% genuinely myself, and I think that daddies, I think that older men appreciate that. I guess one of the reasons why I am attracted to older men as well is because they too have that level of confidence that they bring forward, and that, you know, speaks to me as well.
Okay, and I think that's fair. I I was gonna say
But
maybe it's maybe I was gonna say maybe it's because I'm a top.
oh, but
So maybe note to everybody listening: if you are a top, you're not gonna get flights bought for you. Okay, so good luck with that.
but oh my
What
gosh,
other
what were we
stories do you
talking
have?
about?
Don't you have another story? Don't you? A viewer story, or did you cover both of them? I thought you had two. You said one.
I've covered both of them.
Oh, okay.
I've lost my thought, but I do have one
Go.
thing as well. So one, because we're talking about stereotypes, right? Like
Yes.
stereotypical relationship, daddy relationships. I don't know what it's like over there in America, but I guess in the
Bad.
US, bad. Bad. But I guess one stereotypical daddy son, one stereotypical daddy involved
Dynamic.
relationship dynamic. One
Yes.
stereotypical daddy dynamic is between a younger Asian man and an older whiter man. And my friends and I spoke about this last night. And is it because, you know, because potentially older men are obviously into younger looking guys? By presentation, a lot of Asians look younger than they are,
Very young.
as well as have little to zero body hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that a stereotype? When you're good, you're good.
Um,
That's it.
I can see that. That also happens here in the States. The reason Paul kind of chuckled into the microphone is because Humby is in the chat and he's laughing at the fact that Paul leaned into the camera and said, "When you're good, you're good." He said it gagged, and that's why Paul got cut off of the video for a second. But you know what? Another dynamic here in the States is a Caucasian man will get with an African American man, and the
Yes.
attraction is because what I've known from conversations that I've had, the attraction is that a younger Caucasian male has so much more confidence and able to live their truth more than this individual or like the older Caucasian individual was able to live when they came out.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
so it's the fact that they have culture, they have confidence, and they have the youth to live their life into its entirety because men in their 60s now, they weren't able to comfortably be gay until roughly the late 90s in the United States because the HIV epidemic was just uncontrollable, and people were so they were so scared of the stigma of being around somebody with
Yeah.
HIV. And, thankfully now we have so much technology and science behind it in order to keep everyone safe and try to eventually eliminate the disease. So if you're listening and you're not on Discovery or Truvada, like please head over to Mr. and everything is free. It can be provided to you free. If you don't have insurance, it's free. This is not a promo. This is just because I want to keep you all safe. I've had several friends who have had encounters and scares with HIV, so please just get that done. But again, going back to the conversation, is these older men were drastically more closeted than they are now. And so that's where cruising came about. And so you were meeting in parks, you were meeting in, public restrooms that were, off the chart. You were meeting in the middle of nowhere because you were looking for a safe place to, express your physical attraction to men. And New York is the center of, gay pop culture and its growth and its history and Stonewall and all these things. So I feel like, and also come back to the conversation of daddy issues, is that we are living in a time now where these men that are significantly older want to be with us because we're younger and they want to live vicariously through us in order to fulfill their own version of daddy issues, but more of youthful issues because they weren't able to be what we are now.
Yeah.
So,
which I love. I
that's
kind
my
of
two
love that. Yeah, I kind of love that.
Long-winded, by the way.
No, I kind of love that, and I also kind of love when you're out at a club or you're out at a gay party and you see a daddy just living their life in their
I do love
harness,
that.
showing off their body. I'm just like, I see you. I see you.
Yo,
I'm gonna
look,
see
my
you.
doctor, I seen him one time in Palm Springs during white party, and he was just like in the
Oh,
corner waving his arms. He was all I was like, live your life, girl. Look, he was really out there just doing the thing. I was like, good for you, dog. Good for you. Um, I want to give a shout out because as I mentioned in the promo that I failedly attempted to post yesterday, things are America's dealing with our own daddy issues and our own toxic ex, which they just reelected into the White House. So there a lot of things are going on here. So I do want to support our fellow LGBTQIA IA2 plus brothers and sisters around the globe, including in New York, New York, Gay Pride Apparel, GPA for short. They go by he, she, they. They're a clothing brand, high quality, empowered, proud, positive apparel. They're Latino owned and LGBTQ owned. They've been featured in NBC News, ABC News, and they've been sold inside of Walmart. You can go to www.gayprideapparel.com, and when you check out, use promo code IG10 for 10% off. So we just want to give them a shout out because we do want to support our fellow LGBTQ brothers and sisters out there and the businesses that they start. So please go over and support. And while you're doing that, and since you're going to be on the computer and on websites anyways, like, subscribe, follow, share our podcast onto your story.
Please.
I'm telling you, once we reach let's talk about the number again, but once we reach our first 1,000 followers, we're going to do a special promo or giveaway or something, but we need your help in order to get there. We also are striving for 1,000 downloads. So please log into Spotify, Apple iTunes podcast, or check us out here on YouTube if you love to see our pretty faces, because we do moisturize and use retinol every night so that we look cute. And with that, back to the conversation with Paulie B.
I guess you have said.
We can move on to our oh no moment of the week.
Yeah, but before we move on to that, I just want to make it clear, because you have disclosed you don't have daddy issues. I feel like I need to put it out there as well that I also too don't have daddy issues. Okay, I just want everyone to know that. Yes, I'm attracted to older men, but really the older men that I'm attracted to have, like, you know, a muscular male masculine body, as well as a pretty face, handsome face, and they're young at heart. So I'm attracted to that. I don't have daddies.
There's something handsome about someone who is aging gracefully, who knows how to take care of themselves, who knows how to be composed, and who enjoys the finer things in life, including a glass of wine, or if you're don't drink, a nice dinner, and someone who takes care of themselves.
Yes.
And I feel like when you're in your 20s and 30s, you're still somewhat definitely still trying to figure out yourself in your 20s. Finding out more of who you are in your 30s, and in your 40s, by then you got it. And then you're really prospering. And then in your 50s, you're like, shit, I missed it the first 2 times. so now we are doing things the right way. But there's something so handsome about a gentleman who is aging gracefully, and there's just something so attractive about that, especially if they take care of their bodies, they take care of their face, you know, just chef's freaking kiss, yo.
They know how, and they know how to dress. Oh, when they know how to dress. Oh, yes, we love a silver fox. Thank you, Marsha. We do. We love a silver fox.
Absolutely. And look, let me just tell you this, right? You're Filipino, I'm Mexican, baby. We're gonna age like fine wine, and I'm gonna have this hair. You see this? I'm gonna have this hair for a minute. Okay, it is not going anywhere. Okay, look at this. This face is gonna be useful for a long time, bitch. And I know Paula's gonna look the same way in 10 years when we're on our 10th anniversary of Good Day Gay, and we're blown up, and we're living in New York in our penthouse.
Yes,
we are still gonna look exactly the same, young.
But we look after ourselves. So look after yourselves. That's our tip. Tip number
Look
6,
after
look after
yourself. Use your
yourselves.
retinol and your moisturizers. And Jamie Rogers said, let's positively reframe it
Mm.
to daddy difficulties instead of daddy issues. I mean, I don't have, but Jamie, I don't have any difficulties with the daddies. So I don't know if I'd call it daddy difficulties. I don't know. We'll have to put a pin in that, but definitely a
We'll have
silver
to.
fox. Mm.
Yes.
That's why all the that's why the tequila brands hire silver foxes for their commercials, because just
I love
everybody loves
tequila.
them. Just like booty. Everybody loves booty. Like, like, am I lying? Look, you could be gay. Everyone likes a nice butt. You could be straight. Men like a nice butt. Women like a
Yeah.
nice butt.
Perfect ad commercial is big booty on a silver fox drinking tequila.
Clapping my
That's
fingers for everybody who's listening instead of watching. Clapping my fingers. And with that being said, let's move on to Paul's segment for the ordinary moment of the week.
Okay, so because I look after myself, I get tested regularly.
Yes.
So I got tested this week. It wasn't an oh no moment. It wasn't like that.
Like,
okay. It was an oh yes moment. They all came back negative. Negative is positive.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I get tested regularly, as you should, as we should as gay men. Yes. And my oh no moment was when recently, because in Australia, when you reach the age of 26 and above, if you were to go to like a private doctor, you have to pay for the consult as well as for the script to be issued to you. You can obviously go to a sexual health clinic, which is free of charge, but then you don't have that service of seeing the same doctor, seeing the same nurse consistently all the time. So, to save a bit of money, I was introduced to this phone service where you book in an appointment with a doctor over the phone. The doctor rings you up, they answer any questions you have, and then they issue you a referral to go get tested at a clinic. Yes. Once they receive the results of the referral, or once they receive the results of the test, then they issue you your script for prep as well as your results of the test. So I got my referral from the doctor and I took it to the clinic, and, I gave it to the nurse, and she was just reading over everything 3 times. She was, questioning me like, okay, so let me get this right. You need to do this. You're after this. We need to test you for this. She called the testing lab and was like, hey, like, I'm not really sure what I have to do. Can you please let me know what I need to do? And in that moment, I just thought, oh no, like, these straights know nothing about gay STI clearing, or
look,
in comparison to us gay men.
With you here, they're the same.
In comparison to gay men, I feel like we're very well educated. And so in that moment, while she was like doing her Googling or doing her whatever, I was like, you know what? Give me 2 pee pots, give me 2 swabs. I'm going to go do that right now. You sort yourself out. And so that was my oh no moment of the week, my oh no moment of the week, where I thought the straights need to get educated.
They do. You know what they do? Because there was one time I was taking a medication and I went to the urgent care because I broke out in a rash on my chest. And the first thing she told me was, has anybody ever told you that you had HIV? And like, my heart dropped. I said, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Has anyone ever told me? And she goes, well, that kind of rash would be significant with an HIV infection. And I said, hold on. I'm on PrEP, number 1. Number 2, I'm not sexually active at the moment. Number 3, I get tested every 6 months and no one has ever told me that I have HIV. I said, what exactly are you talking about? And then she told me the name of the rash, and I looked up the information. I said, okay, I'm going to need you to definitely do your research as a physician's assistant and know that you need a full-blown infection heading into AIDS to have this type of rash, which is 7 years down the line of being untreated. So you just can't walk into someone's room and tell them. Because now you just gave me the scare of my life that was unnecessary because you were uneducated as a heterosexual woman.
Wow.
So yes, that was an oh no moment of life.
Oh no.
Yes, definitely. If you are straight, go get educated on PrEP. Go get educated on the HIV testing process. Go get educated on keeping yourself healthy, because the gays have been through it through the 80s and the 90s, and they have passed it on to our generation on how to take care of ourselves so that
Yes.
we can avoid becoming sick.
And ask us questions. Ask us
Ask us
questions.
questions, but don't be offensive, because we will put you in your place and we'll put our glasses on and we will read you.
The library's open.
The library is open.
Oh no. All right. What was your oh no moment?
My oh no moment of the week is I went to my closet to go get rid of clothes, because I clean out my clothes like every 3 months because I have so much.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And my favorite pair of pants I've been looking for like 2 months. I find them. I'm like, yes, I put them on. I have them on still now. They are the tightest that they've ever been.
Oh my gosh, show us.
I'll show you right now. I went to the doctor and he was like, so you're up 7 pounds from last year. And like, part of me is like, hell yeah, right? Because I'm trying to be thick, right? But the other part of me was like, I don't see it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see it, because I'm thinking like, if I'm up 7 pounds, like these pecs will be popping, my biceps will be a little bit more bigger, like my shoulders will be round. But it turns out my ass is getting fatter. And we had this conversation last week. It's the only thing that grows. So my oh no moment of the week is I've been working so hard on my upper body and my ass continues to grow. And I'm going to show you all right here, right now, with all of this lighting.
Okay, so sorry. So Russ is currently standing up. He has moved the microphone. His booty is popping. Those pants are tight. There is 7 pounds in there.
Look at these. My ankles are showing.
Not the ankles.
Oh, my ankles were showing. It's the high waters, girl. Let me tell you. Look, to be blessed and stressed are two in the same. And what can I say? I'm paving the way for natural asses.
Look, can I just say,
none of this is fake.
You and I met 2 years ago, and then we finally met each other again this year in like February or March.
Yes.
But when obviously when I met you, I knew you had a big ass. But when I saw you 2 years later in February, I was reminded very fast that you have a big ass. I was like, oh yeah, that's my friend.
Look, people ask me all the time, is it real? Yes, it's real. Like, look, one thing that you also know about Mexicans and Latinos is that we got squoval booties from birth, right? It's like, it's not like fat, right? So like, I'm trying to give a visionary of that. Like it's round and it's also wide, right? So you got to make sure you keep it in check. Yes. Yeah. So I have done some leg lifts, some donkey kicks, some walking lunges, some reverse lunges, hip thrusts, and I've done Bulgarian split squats to make sure it is high and tight. Yes. Because if you let it, if you let it control you, it's gonna get out of control. So you gotta be in control of it. And with that being said, next week we will be talking about coming out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we want any of you to share your stories with us. Once again, please like, subscribe, follow us. Please repost us. We really appreciate everybody who's been listening. We have listeners in Finland, Australia, Adelaide, Sydney, Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York as of right now. So we are definitely... Oh, Canada's another one. Shout out to Canada. Yes. Thank you all so much. We really, really, really appreciate it. But we're about to reach our 1 hour mark. And we said we're going to be 45 minutes. So we'll see you next time. We love you.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.